Next up, what's going on in Morocco? Huh? A 90,000-year-old human footprint, multiple footprints, were found in a Moroccan beach, and they are some of the oldest and best preserved in the world. Interesting. Interesting. Here's the study right here, which talks about it. Okay. Let's read the abstract from this first before we get into the article. Footprints represent a relevant vestige, providing direct information on the biology, locomotion, and behavior of the individuals who left them. However, the spatiotemporal distribution of hominin footprints is heterogeneous, particularly in North Africa, where no footprint sites were known before the Holocene. This region is important in the evolution of hominins. It notably includes the earliest known Homo sapiens and the oldest and richest African Middle Stone Age hominin sites. In this fragmental iconological record, we report the discovery of 85 human footprints on a late Pleistocene, now indurated beach surface of about 2,800 meters squared at Larache, northwest coast of Morocco. The wide range of sizes of the footprints suggests that several individuals from different age groups made the tracks while moving landward and seaward across a semi-dissipative bar, Tro, sandy beach. A geological investigation and an optically stimulated luminescence dating of a rock sample extracted from the track site places this hominin footprint surface at 90.3 plus or minus 7.6 Ka. Don't know what that means. That's saying 1,000 years ago. Oh, so it's saying it's about 90.3, give or take 7.6 thousand years ago, which is the late Pleistocene era. The Larache footprints are therefore the oldest attributed to Homo sapiens in northern Africa in the southern Mediterranean. Human footprints. Interesting. In Africa. Over the past 2 decades, a large number of hominin footprint sites have been discovered on different continents. So this is not the first one. Very, very interesting. Now let's get into the article. Two trails of ancient human footprints pressed into a beach in Morocco form one of the largest and best preserved trackways in the world. Researchers happened upon the footprint site near the northern tip of North Africa in 2022 while studying boulders at a nearby pocket beach. All right, all right. Earliest evidence for humans on the Arabian Peninsula. Let's get out of it because this is just uh yeah, here we go. Analysis of the site, which is the only known human trackway site of its kind in North Africa and the southern Mediterranean, revealed two trails containing a total of 85 human footprints. The team used optically stimulated luminescence dating. Now, what is that? That is a technique that determines when specific minerals on or near an artifact were last exposed to heat or sunlight. Based on the age of the fine grains of quartz that make up the bulk of the gently slowed beach's sand, researchers determined that a multi-generational group of Homo sapiens walked on the beach roughly 90,000 years ago. The event took place during the late Pleistocene, also known as the last ice age, which ended around 11,700 years ago, according to the study. Quote, we took measurements on site to determine the length and depth of the prints. Based on the foot pressure and size of the footprints, we were able to determine the approximate age of the individuals, which included children, adolescents, and adults. The researchers credit the excellent preservation of the ancient impressions to a number of factors. I mean, 90,000 years is quite some time, including the beach's layout and the long reach of the tides of the, quote, final preservation of the footprints, according to the study. Wow. I wonder what their toenails were looking like. Were they cutting them back then? I don't know. That's besides the point. The exceptional thing is the position of the beach on a rocky platform that is covered in clay sediments. These sediments create good conditions to preserve the tracks on the sandbar while the tides rapidly buried the beach. That's why the footprints are so well preserved here. Interesting, interesting. So technically, it does not necessarily mean that there is no possibility that there are even prints older than these 90,000-year-old ones. Now, how do they know it's 90,000 years old? Well, let's go back right up here using the optically stimulated luminescence dating. They were able to date these. And that's a technique that determines when specific minerals on or near an artifact were last exposed to heat or sunlight. So by looking at when these things were last exposed to sunlight, and I mean, I can just click on this so we can. Oh, well, this is just a whole other article. All right. Maybe for another time. Let's get out of here. Let's get out of here. However, the researchers remain uncertain about what the Ice Age group was doing on the beach. Taking a beach day? Maybe they were on vacation. I don't know. And future analysis of the site could reveal that information. But they'll have to act quickly as the ongoing collapse of the Rocky Shore platform could lead to its eventual demise, including of the tracks preserved on it, the team wrote in the study. We hope to learn about the total history of this group of humans and what they were doing here. Once again, I will put this down in the thing. This is the area right here. Very cool. I mean, why wouldn't they want to be right there? I mean, it's a great view. 90,000 years ago, I assume Northern Africa was probably relatively warm. Why wouldn't they want to just hang out? I don't know if people did that back then, but I would imagine. I feel like relaxation is something that was not invented anytime relatively soon. I feel like people for the majority of our life had like to sit down, relax a little bit. Some maybe more than others. And maybe these are that some. Very cool. So this is just all this stuff. All right, I'll put this down in the thing. Yeah, so very, very cool. I think one of the things one of the things to consider and to think about, especially in 2024, about to be 2025, that and I've thought about this more as I've gotten older and I've been gearing up to have children, is that your existence, whether you're somebody watching this in 2024 or somebody watching this in 2050, 2060, 2100, that you and your experience is the result of people quite possibly 90,000 years ago. From each step of the way, a mother and a father were able to mate and their child was able to survive. And that child was able to survive to an age where they were able to mate and have another baby. And the process continues. And that process didn't span just 5, 6, 7, 8 generations, didn't span 10, 20 generations. We're talking hundreds of generations. If we're speaking about 90,000 years ago, where there are Homo sapiens that were walking around on Earth, doesn't matter if they're in Africa, it's 90,000 years ago. If these people, our great, great, great ancestors, were able to walk around and experience life, one, how were they different from us? But two, also, how lucky we are to be here, each and every single person, because there are so many people, whether it is illness or disease or some kind of accident. We're talking 90,000 years ago. Think about 500 years ago. People getting cuts and then it gets infected, and then unfortunately they die a couple of weeks later because they don't have antibiotics. They don't have Advil. They don't have Aleve. They don't have all this stuff, hydrogen peroxide. They don't have none of that. And that's what's taken the majority of our population. Sickness, childbirth, another thing that has killed many people, where it was either the baby dying right out of childbirth because they come out and there's some medical thing. Once again, we're talking, we could go back 500 years ago. We could go back 200 years ago to the 1700s, 1724. If a baby comes out and they have some kind of heart issue, are the doctors going to be able to understand and be aware of that and come up with a solution to that? No. They were still chopping legs off. They were still sawing people's legs off and amputating them. And once I think we all consider that possibility and then take that to 90,000 years ago, where maybe one of your ancestors or my ancestors, a direct piece of our lineage, was walking on those shores in Morocco, not knowing what it would later be named at in 94,000 years ago later after them. They weren't thinking about that. They were probably thinking about where their next meal is, how to keep their family safe, and maybe, I don't know. I don't know what else they really thought of. Probably food and family. But I think it's extremely important to be cognizant that that is the reality of life here on this planet. We are not robots. We are not some kind of software that lives forever. We are human beings that are only brought into existence by those people who gave birth to us. And that process goes back, we have evidence of as far as 90,000 years ago. There were humans just like you and I, Homo sapiens, walking this earth. And now, does that mean that there's humans 100,000 years ago? Certainly opens the door. 150,000 years ago certainly opens the door. And with each year that gets added, each 1,000, 10,000 years that get added to the age of our species, the more important it is to understand that there is a long line of people before you who helped pave the way for you and I to experience this thing called life. And unfortunately, today, there are so many people who are stripped from that, where they die at a young age, or they die at any age, really. But we have to look back and think of our generations and be thankful, because frankly, without them, we're not here. And I think it's important to show respect to your elders, because without them, we wouldn't be here. One sperm and one egg, that's different. You're not here. The chances are either infinite or they're one of one. Interesting.